How we doing, Cougar fans? Welcome back to another edition of Coaches Weekly. My name is Al Mateo, and today we are joined by the head men's volleyball coach, Coach Manos. How you doing today?
Good. Happy to be here. We doing all right?
Yes, sir. We are. We are. So, you guys just recently started your guys' season this past week against Roanoke, Winterberg, and Thale. Did not get the results you guys wanted, obviously, but what were some of the things that stood out to you with your team throughout that weekend?
So we wanted to challenge them early in terms of the scheduling, the movement, and all the welcoming events essentially, because we have a large group of underclassmen on our team. So as far as traveling 5.5+ hours through the snow, a time change, playing 3 matches in 13 sets within a 24-hour window, and playing 3 teams that we felt on paper would probably stack up in terms of the top tier of our conference here. So although the results were not what we wanted, the process was a learning curve, and I think we did a good job adapting as far as taking care of our bodies, making sure we're taking a specific approach to everything we do, and really diving into the pool as far as our freshmen getting a lot of time, a lot of reps, and making sure they can get acclimated to the college game really quickly.
Okay, so bouncing off of that, you speak on your freshman. You do mention that it is a young, you have a lot of underclassmen, a young team as well. What do you kind of see with them in terms of the physicality, the mentality of, is it a sped up game for them? What kind of difference do you see, especially coming from a high school game to the collegiate game? What have you really seen with them specifically?
Yeah, they did a really good job as a unit, whether it's our freshmen or just our entire core team, of just really improving in the fall. So it was a really positive experience as far as getting their skill set to a higher point, their physicality, all of them in terms of their vertical, their arm speed, their quickness. It's shown drastic improvement. So as far as our outlook going forwards, it's really positive in terms of what they'll be able to do here on the court short term with playing time, but also their ability to impact our performance as a unit within the conference. So it's all positives from our end. It's just the work effort, that's the consistency is going to be our focal point going forwards. Now that we've had that realization, we're playing these guys who are 3-4 years older than them and have that experience, right? We have to be specific. So I think they're really doing a good job of making that continual improvement. It's just that's, again, for us, we need to make sure our blinders are on and we continue to find that emphasis as we go forwards.
Okay, yeah, and so bouncing off of that as well, now you have also returners as well, Eli Mosher, Rasheed Hoffman, guys who have been staples within your team over the past few seasons. How much are you leaning on those guys to be able to say, hey, we have these group of underclassmen that we're going to have to play them and they're going to have to develop. How much are you leaning on those upperclassmen to be able to kind of lead those guys and mold them into the kind of players that you want to be down the road?
Yeah, they have to be staples within our program. And the reality, too, of us just having one senior essentially is that our juniors have roles that are expanded. So whether it's on the court or off the court, they're taking on leadership roles. They're being mentors to our underclassmen, and they're doing a good job of just setting themselves up for success individually as well. But if you talk about our 2 juniors, Van and Eli, I mean, they need to be staples for us. And their consistency, their anticipation, their ability to know the game, they have that internally, but being able to share that insight and being able to really broaden that horizon in terms of their on-court presence. They're open to it, they're doing it, right? And I think it'll be exciting to see that journey as the season progresses.
Yeah, and so looking forward to this weekend against North Park and also Westminster. What kind of the expectations do you expect to see when you guys set the court tomorrow?
So we now have that first week under our belt. We know how to approach things in terms of a home game, and we have a little bit of that advantage since we're here and things are a little bit simpler. So for us, it's against these teams, we have to really focus on our efficiency. That's been our number one focus area across the week, right? Whether it's from the service line or just small details mid-match in terms of switches or schemes. If we are efficient in the way we go about our business, we can find success. But we need to make sure that that process is still efficiency focused.
Yeah, and so that being said, everybody, you can catch tomorrow's games on CUCCougars.com against North Park and Westminster. Coverage starts at 12 p.m. And thank you, Coach, for meeting with us today. It was a pleasure. And my name is Al Mateo. This is Coach Greg Manos. And once again, go
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Cougar Sports Network for the home opener for the Concordia University Chicago men's volleyball team. We've got a long day ahead of us. The first try here inside Geisman Gymnasium, where the Cougars are taking on the visiting North Park University Vikings to start the season. North Park coming into today, first game of the season. The Cougars already with 3 games under their belt after a weekend series this past weekend. Unfortunately, going 0-3 in that, so still hunting for their first win of the season, as very clearly the Vikings are as well in their first appearance. Getting ready to get things underway here inside Geisman Gymnasium. 2 teams that have some familiar history dating back quite a while. Head coach for the Cougars, Greg Manos, in his 3rd season. Head coach for the Vikings, Brittany Welch, in her 1st season. The 2 head coaches of these teams have a little bit of history. Coach Manos was actually the coach of Coach Welch, so a student becoming the master here, looking to take down her former coach as these 2 teams get ready to get things underway. In their last few matchups, the Cougars took down North Park last year in a 5-set thriller. But the year before that, the Vikings took down the Cougars in a 3-0 sweep. So realistically, looking at these 2 teams, anything could happen. But the Cougars are going to start things off with their first serve of the day, serving for CUC, number 11 setter Eli Mosher. As this one is up and in and received well. And the first hit almost out, but Gato keeps it alive. Mosher sets over to Hoffman, and the Cougars strike first and secure themselves the first point of today. This one is up and received straight over. Mosher with the set. Armstrong with the easy up and over. As that one is laid down by number 8, Gerald Milana, for the first point for the Vikings. That's going to bring up number 16, Teddy Gedville, to serve for the Vikings. Gedville, a graduate student at North Park, sends that one in, and Stella with the kill, and he's able to get that one to go, sending it back down for the Cougars as number 10, Marcin Hoffman, gets ready to serve. Drops this one shallow. Over, but Armstrong with the smackdown, and the Vikings unable to combat that. Cougars taking yet another point. Hoffman with the serve. Received by Kales, and it's gonna be another point for the Cougars. Quickly a 4-1 lead here for CUC. That one received by Kales. Set by Gedville. Over from Milana, and he's gonna get that one to fall. So that's going to bring Milana back to serve for the Vikings. That one's hit hard to Hoffman, but the tip from Armstrong good. Kept in by Gedville, and sending it back over is Dragon. And a little back and forth here action. Stella to Mosher to Armstrong. Kept alive. Mosher back. It's going to be a free ball over for the Vikings, getting ready to settle it here. A little bit of a slip up from Mosher is going to end that rally, but some really, really good digs there from the Vikings libero, number 3, Noah Chantalangsi. As this one brought in, Stella with the rocket straight down. Sends things back over to the Cougar side. And as things get ready to get moving, looks like a question for the officials here, but it's going to bring in number 5, Ayaz Arif, to serve for the Cougars. Looks like the officials are going to check some lineups here. So, looks like North Park is getting their rotation double-checked here. Trying to figure out if someone might have been out of rotation, but Cougars taking this opportunity to huddle up and confirm. So this taking a little bit longer than expected here, as the official is still checking. The athletic communications staff at CUC playing a little theme song to get things moving a little bit, but still just double checking here. But in the meantime, kind of breaking down some digits here so far for this North Park squad. Leading the way is outside hitter Gerald Milana. 2 kills already on the day on his 2 total attacks, so taking charge. But on the Cougar side, J.R. Stella, the sophomore, similar situation, 2 kills on 2 total attacks. Stella, a huge star for the Cougar squad last season in his freshman campaign, so similarly looking to make that impact here in season number 2 with the Cougars. A plethora of new faces, though, for CUC. Freshman Tristan Kaminar. Freshman Michael Cardenas. Tyrese Armstrong. Alexander Ford. Tate Johnson. Ildu Domacino. And Avery Ekstrom, the recruiting class that Coach Manos brought in for the Cougar squad. So lots of young talent here for the Cougars compared to a heavily veteran roster for this North Park squad. But we're going to get things back underway here as that one is received. And over for Milana. Armstrong with the attack, and it's going to go right through the hands of Milana. And they're going to be unable to recover that. Chantalangsi chasing it down, but unable to get there in time and get a hand on it. As a straight down shot for the Vikings. Off the hands of Sam Robinson, so it's going to bring in Liam Miller to serve for North Park. Yeah, as this one is in and sent down by Alexander Ford. So the Cougars sending things right back into their own hands. It's going to bring Stella to serve. This one is received, set by Miller, and sent just far by Gedville. Vikings having some height on their front line here. Gedville sitting at 6'5". Robinson at 6'5" as well. So some talent there, but Robinson unable to get that one over the net. Gives the point to the Cougars, and the Vikings are going to take a quick timeout after that. So while the Vikings take a quick timeout, we're going to take a quick pause here as well, but don't go anywhere. We'll be back in just a minute on the Cougar Sports Network. Back here on the Cougar Sports Network, CUC leading North Park 9-4 here in set 1. Vikings taking a quick reset timeout here, but Stella getting things back to action for the Cougars, sends that one in. Miller brings it up. Gedville sends it over. Mosher with the set. Stella with the attack, and he's able to get that one to land. Point Cougars. Stella on a bit of a roll here for the Cougars. Not fazed by the timeout, as that one is high and in there for a Cougar ace at the hands of J.R. Stella. (11-4) here in set 1. Like I mentioned a bit before, Stella, a impactful member of this Cougar team last season, as he sends that one in once again. The set up for Gedville, over received by Gato. Stella unable to get that one over the net. Point for the Vikings, and a chance to turn things around here. As this one is in a little bit of a confusion there for the set, but Gedville sends it back over. And Alexander Ford with a straight shot down for the Cougars. Ford playing all weekend in the opening days for CUC volleyball. Played in 12 sets with 16 total attacks, so not surprising to see him continue that here as well. Like I mentioned, Ford, a freshman on this Cougar squad. As that one is sent straight down by Hoffman. And we're going to get another quick check on the Vikings rotation here, I believe. The official confirms it, and Ford is set to serve for the Cougars. As he sends that one long and out. 13-7 here for the Vikings serve. Teddy Gedville now serving for the Vikings. Armstrong with the reception and looking to send it straight back over was Milana, but instead dropped it a little short and sends things to the Cougars. Mosher now serving for CUC. As that would be a huge hit for Jonah Johnsonson. His first kill of the day. Brings Milana to serve for North Park. And sends that one far. Marcin Hoffman now to serve for the Cougars. Sends that one into the net, so right back over to the Vikings. John Sampson now to serve for the Vikings. And sends that one deep and over the line. So the Vikings are going to take yet another time out here in set one. So while they take a quick break, we're going to take one too here on the Cougar Sports Network. Back here on the Cougar Sports Network, CUC leading the Vikings 16-9 in set one. Arif getting ready to serve for the Cougars after a fresh time out. Sends that one in. Gedville with the set. Sent over by Robinson. Armstrong sending it back over with a light tip. Gedville being able to get a hand on it, as is Chantalangsi, but nobody else able to recover, so point CUC. Noah Chantalangsi, a graduate student transfer from Benedictine University, first season with North Park. As that one is sent over by Dragon. Stella with the hit, received by Milana, and Cougars have an opportunity here. Mosher with the set. Stella with the hit, and it's going to drop at the feet of Gedville. Arif with another serve in his second season with the Cougars. Excuse me, his third season with the Cougars. Now serving for North Park, Liam Miller. That one is blocked by Gedville, and Robinson kept alive by the Cougars, and they're going to say that was tipped. Or that was not tipped, excuse me. Cougars wanted to get the tip call on that, but instead it's going to hand things back over for Miller to serve. Hoffman, Mosher, Armstrong, unable to get that one over. Miller in his 4th season with the Vikings, getting ready to serve here. Sends that one into the net. As Stella now serving for the Cougars. Kedville with the attack, and he gets it to go. It's going to bring Adrian Calez to serve now for the Vikings. That one drops narrow. A tip over from Mosher. It's going to hit the ground. Vikings kept trying to keep it alive. A little bit difficult to tell from up here, but really good effort there from the Vikings, but ultimately going to give the Cougars a point. 20-13 here in set 1. Tyrese Armstrong to serve now. As that one drops on the back row for Sam Robinson. Robinson now to serve for the Vikings as well. Again, in his 4th season with the Vikings, gets that one in. A huge block there for the Vikings. A solo shot for John Sampson. Vikings on a bit of a run here, closing that gap a little bit, 20-15 in set 1. Hoffman with the attack, kept alive by Robinson. Hoffman with another attack, and a huge big-time block for the Vikings off the hands of Gedville and John Sampson. And the Cougars are forced to take a timeout. What a momentum-shifting run from the Vikings here. Huge opportunities, some great hits, and some even bigger blocks at the hands of the Vikings bigs. Talked about it a little bit earlier. Having some height at the front line is going to be huge. Cougars have a little bit of height. Alexander Ford, as I mentioned, freshman for the Cougar squad, sitting at 6'6", but the majority of the CUC squad sitting below that front line for the Vikings. So doing a really good job of getting up there, and 2 consecutive blocks is a great way to get themselves back into this. Sitting 20-16 in this first set. Looking at some numbers right now, Cougars 10 kills to North Park's 6. But Cougars also having only 1 service ace compared to North Park, still looking for their first. But North Park really working that front line at the net. 2 blocks in this set, both of them on these last 2 consecutive plays. So a 3-0 scoring run for the Vikings gets them back into this running. Cougars 5 points away from taking set 1, but Sam Robinson still serving for North Park. As he sends that one back, Armstrong with the reception. Hoffman, that one is going to go off the hands of Milana. And the Cougars are going to have an opportunity here. Ford now serving. Sends that one low. It's received well from Chantalangsi. Sends it right back over, and the Cougars have a chance here, but instead receive it well. And the Vikings able to keep it alive. Cougars thought they had a block there, but instead some batting it around from the Vikings. Keep it alive, but the Cougars able to send that one straight back down. A little bit of a chaotic sequence there as both teams thought that they had secured the point, but some really athletic plays on both sides of the net kept it alive. So Ford now to serve once again. And that one is a huge block for the Cougars. off the hands of Arif. 23-16 now in the first set. As that one is going to drop on that back line. Teddy Gedville with a huge kill. It's going to send him back to serve for the Vikings. Looking to make a run here in his 5th year with North Park. Gedville getting ready to serve. Armstrong, Mosher pops it over, and it's going to drop on the line. Cougars able to secure the points. Eli Mosher getting ready to serve for set point here in set 1. Sends that one in. And Dragon's going to be able to send it over. Received from Armstrong, sends it right back over. And that's going to just miss the line. So the Cougars are going to take set 1. 25-17 in set 1. So it's going to move the benches, and we're going to get things reset here in just a few minutes. So don't go anywhere here on the Cougar Sports Network.
Concordia University Chicago is a Christ-centered Lutheran university where truth, freedom, and vocation form students for lives of influence and service for the common good. Our university offers a wide variety of undergraduate and graduate degree options that are available in person and online. That means we have a program designed for you. Whether you're a high school student, an adult returning to complete your degree, or someone looking to enhance your credentials and prepare for career growth. As a member of this university community, you'll also find support in your spiritual and personal life so you can grow in the faith and discover ways to serve others. To start your next journey with us, visit cuchicago.edu today.
Back here on the Cougar Sports Network for set number 2 of today's first match. Cougars took set 1 at 25-17, but the Vikings looking to bounce back here in set 2. Little breakdown of set one. Cougars 13 kills to the Vikings 7. Cougars 12 digs to the Vikings 10, and the Vikings 2 blocks to the Cougars 1. So looking to switch the momentum a little bit here. As I mentioned earlier in today's broadcast, first season of under a new direction for this North Park squad. Head coach Brittany Welch taking over. But this North Park squad, a very talented team in the CCIW, finished last season with an 8-20 record, but returned 7 players who played in at least half of their matches last year. So a very veteran-heavy squad as we get things underway in set 2. Hoffman tips that one over. Gedville. As that point is going to go to the Cougars off the hands of Robinson. Hoffman serves. Tipped over from Lennon. He's going to give that point to the Vikings. Some new faces in set 2 for North Park. Now serving for them, number 11, Adekunle Adebayo, making his first appearance of the day. Stella with the attack off the hands of Robinson and Milana. Going to send things back down for the Cougars. Also, first appearance of the day for the Vikings, number 26, Braden Lennon. As Milana sends that one straight down. Cougars unable to do anything about it. So Sam Robinson now to serve for the Vikings. And that one goes deep back. So point for CUC. Putting the ball into the hands of J.R. Stella to serve. 3-2 here in favor of the Cougars. As that one goes straight into the nets. Going to see Miller re-entering here to serve for Lennon. Liam Miller, the senior from Rockford, Illinois. That one scrapes over the top of the net. Mosher over to Stella. Stella is going to say that one was tipped, kept alive. A little back and forth. The Vikings really unsure that ball was touched by them, but at the end of the day, it does not matter. Teddy Gedville sends that one straight down. And the Vikings take the lead here in set 2, their first lead of the day. As Liam Miller gets ready to serve once again. Hoffman to Mosher to Armstrong. Chantalangsi, Miller. That one is sent over. Kept alive here by Adebayo. And a free ball over from Milana is going to send things in favor of the Cougars. So Tyrese Armstrong now to serve for CUC. Freshman out of Grayslake, Illinois, sends that one well out of bounds. Milana now to serve for the Vikings. Armstrong, Mosher, Stella, Chantalangsi. Kept alive here. And a huge block from Gedville and John Sampson. That is going to force a timeout from the Cougars. Like I mentioned, that height at the net causing some problems for the Cougars, forcing Coach Greg Manos to take a quick timeout. So while they take a quick break, we're going to take one too here on the Cougar Sports Network. Back here on the Cougar Sports Network, Vikings leading the Cougars here in set 2, 6-4. Milana now serving for the Vikings. Gato with the reception. Mosher to Ford. Miller now. And they're going to give that one to the Cougars. Going to put Alexander Ford now serving for CUC, the freshman from Skokie, Illinois. Milana kept alive there, sent over by Adebayo, and gonna keep that one for themselves, extending their lead out to 2. John Sampson now to serve for the Vikings. A block there from Robinson, kept alive. Stella. Over from Robinson, off the fingertips of the Cougars, kept alive by Gato, and Mosher is able to find the back corner of the court and get that one in. So the Cougars breaking their dry streak here. Gonna send Eli Mosher to serve for CUC. Trailing by 1 here in set 2. Adebayo with the reception. Over from Robinson. Stella. That one kept alive by Robinson. Gedville sends it over. And Stella with an easy hit. Gedville sends that one out and in the net, so point in favor of the Cougars. Mosher continuing to serve here. A huge hit from Gedville. Kept alive by CUC. Hoffman sends it over. Blocked from the Cougars, kept alive here. And Adebayo unable to get that one over the net. So Cougars regain the lead here in set 2. Mosher still serving. Gedville sends that one out, and the Cougars keep the point. Milana, Miller, back to Milana. Tipped off the hands of the Cougars. Gato able to get a hand on it. Tyrese Armstrong chasing it down to try to send it back over, but unable to get some lift underneath it. So point back to the Vikings. Teddy Gedville now serving for North Park. Armstrong, Mosher, Stella. Hoffman now serving for the Cougars. Chantalangsi. Gedville to Robinson, kept alive. Gedville over to Lennon. Gato. Stella gets that one to go. J.R. Stella with another huge hit on the day. He's going to keep the ball with the Cougars as Marcin Hoffman continues to serve here. As that one short into the net. Serving now for the Vikings is Adebayo. Gato, Mosher, Armstrong sends that one straight down and collects another point for the Cougars. Arif now to serve. Sends it close, but Robinson able to get it over. Armstrong now. Milana with a tough first touch, and Adebayo chasing it down, but ultimately unable to get there through traffic, so point CUC. Chantalangsi. Gedville to Robinson. A hard hit received by Hoffman. Armstrong now. Milana. Gedville. Lennon. And is able to get that one to land off the fingertips of the Cougars. Robinson now to serve for the Vikings. A low reception, but a hard hit from Ford, sent right back over by the Vikings. Mosher now back to Ford, sends it right back at Adebayo. Vikings keep it alive. Mosher once again over to Stella. Stella cross court, kept alive by the Vikings. Lennon now with the hit, and the Cougars are going to be able to collect that one. A huge back and forth, some hard hits off the chest of Adebayo, but ultimately going to go to the Vikings. Coach Manos was looking for some potential in the net there. Initially thought that this near side official was calling it, but ultimately going to the Vikings. Armstrong now, and a huge block for the Vikings off the hands of John Sampson and Lennon. So Robinson still to serve for the Vikings. Gato, Mosher, Ford, right back. Here's Milana, off the hands of the Cougars. Gato now at the net, and a tip from Milana, kept alive by the Cougars. Mosher, Armstrong, sends that one to the back corner, but just far, so the Vikings are able to get the point there. Cougars a little frazzled on that. Coach Manos telling everybody to slow things down a little bit as Robinson sets himself up once again. Vikings on a 4-0 scoring run at the moment. Armstrong with that one right through his hands. Hoffman chasing it down, and Stella able to get it over. Adebayo. And that hit from John Sampson's going to roll between the nets, and the Vikings are going to collect the point once again. Robinson still serving for the Vikings. Gato off the wall, kept alive by Stella. Free ball from Mosher. Lennon, Gedville, back to Lennon. That's going to be tipped by the Cougars, so point for the Vikings, and that's going to force a timeout from head coach of the Cougars, Greg Manos. So while he takes a quick timeout, we're going to take one too here on the Cougar Sports Network. Back here on the Cougar Sports Network, Vikings lead the Cougars in set 2, 15-13. Gone on a 6-0 scoring run here as Sam Robinson serves this one up for the Vikings. Mosher over to Stella. Stella with a huge block from the Vikings off the hands of Milana, extending this scoring run to 7-0. Milana and John Sampson having a field day at the net right now. Robinson serving once again. As this one goes deep and back and breaks the 7-0 scoring run for the Vikings. Cougars trailing by 2 now. J.R. Stella serving for the Cougars. Gedville to John Sampson, sends it wide. Point for the Cougars. Blocked from the Cougars, kept alive. Milana tipped off the fingertips of Ford. Armstrong now, Gedville, Chantalangsi, over to Milana, and Cougars unable to get it back over. Ford trying to one touch back over after Milana was able to tap it over with his opposite hand, but unable to keep it alive from the Cougars. So Liam Miller now serving for the Vikings. Armstrong, Mosher, Ford sends that one straight down, and the Cougars are able to bounce back. Trailing now by 1, Tyrese Armstrong to serve. Milana, Miller, back to Milana. The tip is going to fall right in front of Gato. Milana now serving for the Vikings. Gato, Mosher, Hoffman, Miller with the dig. Adebayo sends that one straight down. Armstrong able to get a hand on it, but unable to keep it in. So another point here for the Vikings. Hoffman, Mosher, Stella. Sends it back row, kept alive by Miller, sent back over. Mosher with the tip, but it's going to be blocked by Adebayo. Mosher trying to sneak it over off of the first touch, but Adebayo right at the net to send it right back to the Cougars. Milana now serving for the Vikings, sends that one right down between the Cougars. And the Vikings on another bit of a scoring run here. 21-16 in set 2. As that one sneaks just out the back of the court. So Cougars staying alive in set 2. Ford now to serve for CUC. Trailing 17-21. Milana, Miller, Adebayo. And they're going to call him for being in the net. So a point for the Cougars. Mosher to Hoffman. Chantalangsi, Miller, Milena. Mosher to Hoffman. Kept alive. At the net, a little scuffle there, and it's going to fall on the CUC side. 4 hands all at the net, patting that ball back and forth, and it's going to drop just on the Cougar side. Vikings now to serve. A fresh server for the Vikings, number 25, Zach Hayden, the junior out of South Bend, Indiana, is going to drop that one into the net. Eli Mosher now serving for the Cougars. Adebayo, Miller, Robinson kept alive by Mosher, but sent towards the scorer's table and unplayable. A point for the Vikings. Gedville now to serve for the Vikings. Sends that one out of bounds and hands things right back over to the Cougars as Hoffman gets ready to serve. Trailing 23-20 against the Vikings here in set 2. CUC won set 1. Armstrong to Mosher, back to Armstrong. Milana, Gedville, Robinson. Sends that one just out of bounds. (23-21) Cougars trailing here in set 2 as Hoffman gets ready to serve. And sends that one with just a little too much force, and the Vikings will now be serving for set point. As Adekunle Adebayo is going to be serving here for the Vikings. As that one is sent into the net. That's going to give Arif a opportunity to serve here, trailing by 2 in set 2. Gedville to Lennon, and that's going to drop for the Vikings. And we're going to tie things up here after the Vikings take set 2. So heading to set 3, we're going to take a few minute break here, but don't go anywhere as set 3 coming up here on the Cougar Sports Network.
This is our time. We want you to be a part of it.
The countdown to the tournament is on. Pause up.
Hey Cougar fans, Michaela Ellis here. Come support the elderly at CIT. Link down below. Hope to see you there.
Hey Cougar Nation, come out and support the one,
The only
OG Concordia.
Roll
Cougs!
Cougs!
What's up, CUC? Got our last CIT on the 24th. Be there, be square. Go Cougar.
Back here on the Cougar Sports Network for set 3 of today's first match. Cougars took first set, Vikings took second set, and things are officially underway in set 3 as that one is going to be off the hands of the Cougars and in favor of the Vikings. Similar lineups for both squads from set 2 as Adekunle Adebayo serving now for the Vikings. Gato, Mosher, Johnson, Mosher, Stella, sends that one straight down, and the Cougars score their first point of the set. As I said, similar lineups for both squads here in set 3. Making his first appearance of the day, number 12, Tate Johnson, the freshman out of Plainfield, Illinois, as Stella serves that one. And it's going to be laid down by Milana. Sam Robinson now to serve for the Vikings. Sends that one a little too far back, and the Cougars are going to take the point. Now checking in for CUC, number 4, Michael Cardenas, making his first appearance of the day to serve. As that one is going to go off the hands of the Cougars, kept alive by Gato. Mosher over to Hoffman. Kept alive by Gato once again, but unfortunately unable to control and sent out of bounds. So the Vikings are going to take the point on that one as well. Liam Miller now serving for the Vikings. Cardenas, Mosher, Stella, Miller, Chantalangsi, over to Milana, and a block off the hands of Mosher and Ford. It's gonna tie things up at 3 apiece here in set number 3. Ford now to serve for the Cougars. Chantalangsi, Miller, Gedville, Cardenas, Mosher, Hoffman. Kept alive here by Chantalangsi, as that one's going to find its way onto the floor off the hands of Adebayo. Milana now to serve for the Vikings. Gato with the reception. Mosher over to Hoffman. Chantalangsi kept alive by Milana and sent back over by Chantalangsi. Mosher now over to Stella. Blocked by the Vikings. Kept alive here as Hoffman able to drop that one down. Miller sends that one over, and John Sampson is going to be able to find the kill on that one. Cougars unable to keep control off of the hard hit there. Milana to serve. Into the net and hands things back over to the Cougars. Mosher now serving for CUC. Chantalangsi, Miller, Gedville drops that one on the back row for point number 6. John Sampson now to serve for the Vikings. Tips over the top of the net. Mosher, Hoffman, Milana, Miller, Robinson, Gato, Mosher, Stella, kept alive by the Cougars. Hoffman now with the hit. Back row to John Sampson. And unable to keep it alive was Gedville after a tough reception there from John Sampson. So Cougars taking the point. Hoffman now to serve for the Cougars. As that one goes off the forearm of Stella and out of bounds. So Vikings now take the 7-5 lead here. Teddy Gedville now serving for the Vikings. Gato. Gedville now back over to Lennon, kept alive by the Cougars. Tipped by Robinson, sent right back over by Stella. Gedville now over, and a free ball here for the Cougars. Mosher over to Stella, and a huge hit for the Cougars. Sneaks its way inside the court and gets things moving in the right direction for CUC. As Arif now serving for the Cougars. Milana, Chantalangsi, Adebayo, Mosher, Hoffman, Stella, Chantalangsi, Gedville, Lennon. Batted around a little bit, but the Vikings able to keep it alive as Hoffman now going to be off the hands of the Vikings. Tate Johnson with the swing on that and off the side of the arms of Robinson. So Cougars closing this gap. 7-7 here in set 3. Mosher up and over for Ford. Gedville, Robinson sends that one to the back row. Adebayo now serving for the Vikings here. That one received by Hoffman. Stella with a hard hit, kept alive by Chantalangsi. Milana now with it, goes through the hands of Stella and Ford. So the Vikings with the points. Adebayo now serving once again for the Vikings. Off the top of the net, Gato, Mosher, Stella. Off the hands of Milana, kept alive. Sent to the back row. Mosher now. Johnson sends it easy over. Gedville to Robinson. Gato kept it alive, but in the net was the Cougars. So, point for the Vikings. 10-7 here in set 3 in favor of North Park. As that ball is in the net, sending things back down for CUC. As Stella now to serve. Chantalangsi, Gedville, Milana. Sends it right back to Stella and unable to combat it. Sends it out of bounds and the Vikings secure the points. As number 8, Gerald Milana is going to be issued a yellow card by the official. Unofficial word on exactly what it was, but most likely something on the celebration. So issued yellow card here in set 3 as the Vikings lead 11-8. Gato, Mosher, Johnson, and Cougars able to secure a point fresh off of that. Cardenas now to serve for CUC. As that one finds the back row off the hands of Braden Lennon. Liam Miller now to serve for the Vikings. Gato, Mosher. Hoffman sends it over. Gedville over to Milana, sends that one straight down, and the Vikings are continuing to dominate here in set 3. And it's going to force a CUC timeout. So while both teams take a short break, we're going to take one too here on the Cougar Sports Network.
Hey Cougar fans, Michaela Ellis here. Come support the elderly at CIT. Link down below. Hope to see you there.
Back here on the Cougar Sports Network, Vikings lead CUC 13-9 as Liam Miller serves now for North Park. Cardenas with the reception. Ford sends that one over. Chantalangsi digs it up, and Gedville sends that one over and is going to be off the hands of Van Gato. Miller to serve once again here in set 3. Vikings on a 3-0 scoring run at the moment. Gato, Mosher, Hoffman. Miller over to Gedville. Stella with a huge swing. Gedville, Miller, Milana. Blocked by the Cougars, kept alive here. Gedville now with an opportunity. And Cougars are going to secure the point after that swing fell a bit short of the net. So Ford now to serve for CUC. Cougars trailing by 4 here in the set. Milana, Miller, Gedville. Unable to get that one to go over, so the Cougars secure the point. Ford now, Milana, Miller, back to Milana. Ford in the back row. Chantalangsi. John Sampson kept alive by Cardenas as a free ball comes over from Hoffman. Chantalangsi now. Miller over to Milana with a soft tap. Hoffman's going to get a finger on it and sent back over by Reef. Vikings keep it alive here as Gedville sends that one into the net, and the Cougars are able to secure the point. Some soft touches back and forth on both sides, but the Cougars ultimately able to come away with it. Now trailing by 2 here in set 3. Ford now with the serve. Sends that one into the net. as Milana now serving for the Vikings. This one up and into the back row. Cardenas with the reception over to Hoffman. Milana back over, sends it straight down, and the swing from Arif and Hoffman, but it's kept alive by the Vikings, and Milana with the swing. Chasing it down is Gato, but it's no good. The Vikings are on a roll after a hard swing from Milana. Gerald Milana leading today's game in kills, 11 total so far today. JR Stella followed right behind with 10 as Hoffman's able to get that one to go and sends momentum back in favor of the Cougars. CUC now trailing by 3. As I was saying, Milana leading with kills on both sides, but Eli Mosher leading in assists with 21 so far today as Adebayo sends that one to the back row. Stella sends that one, and it's going to drop on the near sideline. Mosher to serve here for the Cougars. Milana, Miller, John Sampson. Mosher sends it right back over, and it's going to go off the hands of Gedville. So Cougars slowly chipping away here at what was a hearty deficit, now trailing by 1 point. As Mosher serves once again. Sends that one with a little too much power off the back end of the court. And Vikings are going to go up by 2 here. Jonah John Sampson now serving for the Vikings. Sends that one. Gato got a hand on it. Arif sends it over. Vikings able to keep it alive. Gedville now and off the hands of Arif and Stella for a huge block that Gedville thought was going out of bounds, but instead dropped right on the line and stayed in for the Cougars. So CUC now trailing by 1 here in the third set. That's going to put Marcin Hoffman at the line to serve. Drops that one shallow. Miller over to Adebayo, sends that back row, and unable to get there is Hoffman. Teddy Gedville now serving for the Vikings. Drops that one into the net for a CUC point. That's going to put Arif at the line to serve. North Park officially breaking 100 attacks, with 101 total attempts on the day, as that one goes far but kept alive by the Cougars. Johnson sends that one in. Here's Adebayo, blocked by the Cougars, and everything is all tied up here in set 3. 18 apiece. Sent to the back row. Milana, Gedville over to Robinson. Hoffman, Mosher, Stella sends that one down, and the Cougars take the lead for the first time in set 3 and force a North Park timeout. So while these two teams take a quick break, we're going to take one too. Cougars officially take the lead here in set 3. Don't go anywhere here on the Cougar Sports Network. Back here on the Cougar Sports Network, fresh out of a timeout, the Cougars officially took the lead here in set 3, 19-18 CUC on a 3-0 scoring run as the Vikings look to break that up, and they do off of a hard swing from Braden Lennon to tie things up at 19 apiece. Both teams with one set won so far today, looking to make it 2 here in set 3 as Adebayo now serving for the Vikings. Both teams broke 100 attacks on the day as Ford sends that one over. Gedville, Milana. Off the hands of Ford and Stella, but a little bit sideways and sends it out of bounds. So the Vikings, first to 20 here. Cougars trailing by 1. Adebayo serving once again. As Johnson receives it. Mosher, Stella, kept alive, blocked by Robinson and Milana to extend their lead. And the Cougars are going to take a timeout as they officially trail now by 2. So while the Cougars take a timeout, we're going to discuss a little bit of the stats breakdown here. So North Park so far 38 total kills on the day compared to CUC's 30. The real power's been at the net. The Vikings having great success with blocks, 9 total blocks on the day in compared to the Cougars 3. I mentioned it early on in the broadcast, but some height differences at the net. Teddy Gedville, Sam Robinson sitting at 6'5", so causing a little bit of trouble at the net. Cougars having some trouble getting some things to fall down, but both teams one service ace under their belts. Looking at the leaderboards, Milana leading all kills with 12, tied with J.R. Stella after his last one, but Eli Mosher leading all players with assists, 24 assists on the day. Jonah John Sampson, the story of the day, with 6 total blocks. 6 of the 9 blocks that the Vikings have had have come with John Sampson at the net, so a huge component there for this Viking defense. As Adebayo now serving. Hoffman tips it over. Chantalangsi kept it alive. Ford back over to Chantalangsi. Gedville, Milana, Johnson, Mosher, Stella with the swing. Chantalangsi now sets it over to Lennon and off the hands of Gato. Adebayo now serving once again for the Vikings. Sends that one well out of bounds. Cougars trailing by 2 here in set 3, 22-20. J.R. Stella now serving. Sends that one with a little too much force and out of bounds. So Vikings now 23-20 as Zach Hayden now entering to serve for North Park. Gato, Mosher, Stella. Adebayo able to get it, but sends it back at the net, and it's sent straight down by Johnson. Taking advantage of an open net and sends that one back into Vikings territory. Cougars trailing by 2 here in the third set, 23-21. Michael Cardenas now to serve for CUC. Cardenas. Adebayo with the reception. Gedville Over to Milana, off the hands of Mosher and Ford and Hoffman, and nobody's able to get some lift on it, so it drops. And set point here in set number 3 in favor of the Vikings, and that puts Liam Miller to serve for set point. Cardenas, Mosher, Stella, kept alive here by the Vikings. Gedville sends it to the back row. Cardenas able to get some lift on it. Mosher gets there. Hoffman sends it over. Adebayo, Miller, Milana, kept alive by Gato at the net. John Sampson able to get a hand on it, but Stella keeps it alive. Hoffman now with the swing and blocked by John Sampson and Gedville. So a huge another block to end the set for the Vikings. The story of the day has been blocks for this Viking squad. So no surprise there to end the set. We see another one. So the Vikings officially go up 2-1 after they take set number 3. So heading to set number 4 in a do-or-die crunch time for this Cougar squad. We're going to take a quick break here on the Cougar Sports Network, but don't go anywhere. We've got more action coming up here on the Cougar Sports Network.
Concordia University Chicago is a Christ-centered Lutheran university where truth, freedom, and vocation form students for lives of influence and service for the common good. Our university offers a wide variety of undergraduate and graduate degree options that are available in person and online. That means we have a program designed for you. Whether you're a high school student, an adult returning to complete your degree, or someone looking to enhance your credentials and prepare for career growth. As a member of this university community, you'll also find support in your spiritual and personal life so you can grow in the faith and discover ways to serve others. To start your next journey with us, visit cuchicago.edu today.
Back here on the Cougar Sports Network as we get set for set number 4 of today's first game. The Vikings lead the Cougars 2-1 after taking the last 2 sets. Cougars took set number 1, but the Vikings came back with vengeance. Cougars now trailing, needing to get things going here in set 4. But leading things off for the Vikings, serving is number 16, Teddy Gedville. Johnson receives that one. And Stella with the swing, sent back over by Chantalangsi. And Johnson with another chance. Gedville gets a hand on it, sends it into the crowd, and goes chasing, but unable to reel it back in. So the Cougars answer with a point and start things off here in set number 4. Chantalangsi having some huge numbers so far today, leading all players in total digs with 18. Actually a career high for him, as that one is sent straight down off the hands of Robinson to answer right back. But the Vikings having themselves a day, as I mentioned. Chantalangsi with 18 digs. Career high previously, career high 10 digs against Fontbonne in February of 2023. So a new career high here in his first season with the Vikings, as Adebayo gets that one to fall for an ace, and back serving once again, sends that one into the net. Arif now to serve for CUC. Sends that one into the net. Robinson now serving for the Vikings. In mentioning some career highs, a few other big numbers to point out for this Vikings squad. I was talking about Jonah John Sampson at the net being a force to be reckoned with a huge number of blocks today, setting a career high 9 total blocks thus far. As the Cougars send that one over, kept alive by Robinson. Lennon sends that one, kept alive by Robinson once again. Mosher sends it over to Stella. Stella sends it down, and it's going to be not tipped, and instead just sent straight out. So the Vikings collecting that point there, extending their lead to 2. Gato, Mosher, Stella. Gedville able to receive that one off of the hard swing, but takes a unfortunate bounce off of the ceiling and instead drops right back down. So the Cougars secure the point, and Stella now serving for CUC. Milano with the swing, and that's going to go just outside. So Cougars taking the points and tying it back up here in set number 4. This Cougar squad, a fairly young team, as I mentioned earlier. Stella, only a sophomore on this squad, leading the way so far here today. John Sampson tries to get that one to go, and unlucky in getting it over the net, so Stella continues to serve. Last season, the Cougars struggled a bit throughout the year, 8-17 overall, a conference record of 3-9, but mostly freshmen and sophomores on that squad, as well as that ball is kept in by Milana, and it's going to be off a Cougar last, so point for the Vikings. But the Cougars continuing their trend of young rosters here, as I mentioned a little bit earlier as well. Mostly freshmen and sophomores on this year's squad. Similarly, a couple juniors and a few seniors. So a lot of young talent here as Ford sends that one down, and unable to control it was Chantalangsi. So Cougars take the lead here, and Hoffman to serve. Chantalangsi, Miller, Milana, Hoffman, Mosher, Johnson, Milana, Miller, Gedville, and Gato unable to wrangle that one in, so point goes to the Vikings. As mentioned before, this Cougar squad coached by head coach Greg Manos in his 3rd season, and in just the 2 previous seasons, Coach Manos has become the winningest coach in CUC history. So he's taken a program that has historically struggled a little bit and been able to turn some things around. In his 1st season as head coach of the CUC squad, led the team to the conference tournament for the 1st time ever. A huge success story there for Coach Manos, and continuing to build and collect some more wins every year. Off to a bit of a struggle so far this season. Opening weekend falling in all 3 matches as the Cougars go down 8-6 in set 4 here. But looking to bounce back as Milana still serving here for the Vikings. Milano with a little too much force on that, sends it straight out of the court. So Ford now to serve for CUC, now trailing by 1. Chantalangsi, Miller, Gedville, Hoffman, Mosher, over to Stella. Stella is able to get that one to go calmly into the back row. Adebayo with a big swing, kept alive by Ford. Mosher over to Johnson. Chantalangsi keeping it alive. A reef with the tip and able to find the floor there in between a mix of Vikings. So Cougars tying things up here in set number 4. As Ford sends that one right out of bounds. John Sampson now to serve for the Vikings. Sends that one right in. Cougars thought that it might have been out of bounds, but line judge says it dropped right in. Another lineup check here for the Vikings. Checking to make sure rotations are correct. Appears everything is. One more confirmation from the officials. Holding things up, and John Sampson continues to serve here. And sends that one into the net for a CUC point. Mosher now to serve for the Cougars. Milana, Miller, Robinson, Hoffman, a reef, and it's going to be over by Johnson, kept alive by the Cougars. Here's Miller once again. Robinson has it blocked by the Cougars. Can they keep it alive? Off the hands of Adebayo, and the Cougars are going to collect the point there. A little bit of chaos on a few tough swings, but Cougars going to capitalize and tie things up as Miller skips that set and attacks, but kept alive there by Adebayo. Robinson sends it back, and it's going to be a little bit too hard. Cougars take the lead here in set 4, 11-10. Mosher to serve. Adebayo. Miller. Robinson sends that one straight down. Kept alive by Mosher, but unable to keep it in play. A huge swing from the Vikings puts them back even with the Cougars. Gato, Mosher, Hoffman blocked by Robinson. A huge block from the Vikings. Brings the Vikings up to 10 total blocks on the day. Gato, Mosher, Johnson, almost a block there from the Vikings, but dropped a little low. Instead, Milana sends that one into the net, so the Cougars able to capitalize on a little bit of a mismatch there. And Tate Johnson now going to be serving for CUC. Sends that one into the net. Adebayo now serving for the Vikings. That one low, kept alive by Johnson. Stella gets it up, and Gato sends it over. A tip over from Lennon. Cougars have a chance. Hoffman sends it over, kept alive by Gedville. Sent back over by Lennon. Hoffman tips it, Gedville. Robinson, Milana. Mosher here over to Hoffman, kept alive by Chantalangsi. Milena with a soft tap, and he's able to get that one to drop on the finger roll. And the Vikings take a 2-point lead over CUC. Adebayo to serve. Right into the hands of Arif, and Coach Manos is going to take a time out from it. So while he takes a quick break, we're going to take one too. Don't go anywhere. We've got some more action coming up here on the Cougar Sports Network.
This is our time. We want you to be a part of it.
The countdown to the tournament is on. Pause up.
Back here on the Cougar Sports Network, North Park leading CUC at 12-15 here in set 4. This one's up from Adebayo as Stella takes a huge swing, blocked by the Vikings, kept alive here. Hoffman sends that one straight down for the Cougars. And Cougars now trailing by 2. As fresh arm checks in for CUC in number 18, Leon Gudzowski. As that one is blocked by Hoffman and Ford. A huge block for the Cougars. Something that I was talking about earlier on the broadcast is the difference in blocks specifically. The Vikings have had some great success at the net, and the Cougars struggling a little bit. So another block there for CUC is huge as Vikings unable to get that one to go over the net off of a unfortunate first touch from Chantalangsi, and that's going to force a Vikings timeout after CUC able to go on a quick 2-0 run to tie things up. So looking at the breakdown here, Cougars now 4 blocks on the day after a huge block from Hoffman and Ford gets things moving. All 3 sets leading up to set 4 been some pretty close sets. CUC won set 1 25-17, but in sets 2 and 3 the Vikings were victorious, but only by a few points. Cougars found themselves in a little bit of ruts, allowing the Vikings to go on some large scoring runs, as big as 7-0 scoring run in favor of North Park, but came back and lost set 2 by 3 points and set 3 by 4 points. So some very winnable sets for the Cougar squad. The Vikings taking advantage of being able to go on some runs and attacking some weaknesses of the Cougars in the back row as well as at the net. So Vikings doing a good job of keeping control of this game. A strategic timeout there to reset some things as Gudzowski gets ready to serve for CUC. Chantalangsi able to keep it in. Stella, Mosher, back to Stella. Blocked by Milana. And the Vikings come back after a bit of a chaotic start on that rally, but how a rally starts does not matter nearly as much as how a rally ends, as the Vikings go up by 1 here in set 4. Putting Sam Robinson back there to serve for the Vikings. Johnson to Mosher to Ford with a huge swing, and Alex Ford getting that one to fall for CUC and tying things back up here. JR Stella now to serve for the Cougars. Milana Gedville was looking to find John Sampson, but a little bit of miscommunication on that one sends it a little long, and a mistimed jump gives the Cougars a free point and the lead here in set 4 as Stella prepares to serve once again. Milana, Gedville, Lennon, and that one's going to go in favor of the Vikings. Cougars unable to keep that one in. All tied up here in set 4. Game 1 of 3 today here inside Geisman, as North Park will play Westminster at 5 p.m. and CUC playing Westminster at 7 p.m. tonight. So a bit of a gap, but game 1 here all tied up in set 4 as Chantalangsi keeps that one alive, and Miller able to send that one over, but unfortunately not within the bounds of the court. So CUC taking the lead here 18-17 in set 4. It's going to send Marcin Hoffman to serve for the Cougars. He drops that one there. Miller, Gedville, Gato able to receive it, but sends it a little far. Mosher chasing it down, but can't quite get there in time. Milana now to serve for the Vikings. Johnson, Mosher, Stella, back row to Milana, Miller, Adebayo. Hoffman keeps it alive. Mosher over to Johnson with the swing. Adebayo, Miller, John Sampson sends that one straight down for a point for the Vikings. As the Vikings take the lead here in set 4, 19-18. Milana to serve here. Hoffman with the reception. Mosher to Ford. Sends it back row. Chance Langsey keeps it alive. Adebayo with the swing. Mosher to Ford. Sends it back row. Milana gets it. Back over to Adebayo. And sends that one into the hands of Mosher, but tips it out of bounds for a Vikings point. And that's going to send the Cougars to force a timeout, their final time out of the set. So while they take a quick break, we're going to take one too, but don't go anywhere as we've got some intense set 4 action here on the Cougar Sports Network.
CUC, got our last CIT on the 24th. Be there, be square. Go Cougars.
Back here on the Cougar Sports Network, Vikings have the lead over the Cougars 20-18 here in set 4. Vikings lead overall 2-1, so 5 points away from victory for North Park as Milana sends that one with a little too much force and gives the Cougars a free point here as Alexander Ford now set to serve for CUC. Chantalangsy, Miller, Adebayo has that one dropped down into the hands of Gudzowski and Mosher, which is going to put John Sampson to serve for the Vikings. As that one, once again, a little too much force from the Vikings. Seen a handful of serves sent straight out of the back of the court. As Mosher gets ready to serve, Adebayo, Miller, Gedville, kept alive here by the Cougars. Sent over by Gudzowski. Chantalangsy here. Robinson sends that one hard and low, but Mosher able to track down the wild hit from Hoffman, but they're going to call Gudzowski in the net. So, point for the Vikings. CUC now trailing 22-20 as Teddy Gedville now set to serve for the Vikings. Mosher to Stella. Gedville, Chantalangsy, Adebayo. Sends that one down and into the back row for a huge point for the Vikings. Gedville still serving here for the Vikings, up 3 on the Cougars in set number 4. Drops that one. Mosher to Stella, reaches for it and able to get some hands on it. Gedville sends that one over himself. Mosher here over to Hoffman. Hoffman sends that back. Chantalangsi keeps it alive and sends it over, and Cougars with a bit of miscommunication, and instead that drops in the open court off of a free ball. And the Vikings now 1 point away from victory, all from some miscommunication here from the Cougars. Both teams chasing their first win of the season. Cougars 0-3 so far. Vikings, this is their first game of the season as Gedville sends that one into the net. So some intense battle here from both squads chasing a first win. And the Vikings are a single point away from doing so. Tate Johnson here to serve for CUC. Chantalangsi, Gedville, Adebayo. Kept alive by Stella. Little bit of miscommunication once again, but Stella sends it over. Hoffman with a shove straight down, kept alive right at the scores table by Adebayo, and a free ball over from Chantalangsi. Mosher over to Stella, blocked by Robinson and Adebayo, kept alive by Johnson, and a free ball sent over. Chantalangsi here settles things down for the Vikings. Gedville, Robinson has that one blocked by Stella and Arif, keeping themselves alive a little while longer. Little bit of chaos back and forth off of some huge swings from the Vikings, but Cougars able to collect the point on that, trailing 24-22 here in set 4. Sends that one out the back of the court, and that'll do it for game 1 of today as the Cougars drop set number 4, 25-22, drop the overall match 3-1. So first win for the Vikings, as well as first win for head coach of the Vikings, Brittany Welch, in her first season with the Vikings. So a breakdown of some final numbers here. Overall, North Park 53 total kills to CUC's 37. 6 service aces to CUC's 3. North Park 73 digs to CUC's 57, and 10 total blocks to CUC's 5. So some big differences here in the stat sheet, as well as a number of career highs for the Vikings. As I mentioned a bit earlier, Noah Chantalangsi, 23 digs on the day. His previous single game high was 10, set back in 2023 when he played at Benedictine. So a career high for the transfer. Additionally, we've got a handful of career highs for Jonah John Sampson, who collected 6 total blocks on the day. Previously, his best in total blocks was 2 against CUC back in 2023, so upping that one just a little bit there. Overall leaders, J.R. Stella led on total attacks on the day with 49. Gerald Milana led on total kills with 15. J.R. Stella trailing right behind with 13 himself. Assists on the day, Eli Mosher 27, Teddy Gedville 25. So some big numbers all around, but this is only game 1 of 3 today, so a little bit of a break in between games 1 and 2. Game number 2 slated for 5 p.m. start, North Park versus Westminster. And game number 3 of the day slated for 7 p.m. CUC versus Westminster. So, as always, we'd like to thank everybody for tuning in to today's broadcast. A huge thank you to everybody that made today's production possible, including our student workers, Sasha Gonzalez running the scoreboard, Ashley Schroll, libero tracking, Courtney Schneider running the production, Terry McLeod doing scorebook, the Hall of Famer Jim Egan on PA for us today, under the direction of graduate assistant Sydney Lloyd, who was our DJ on the day, as well as spotting stats. Assistant Director of Athletic Communications, Corey Welch, who was running stats today, and myself, Kayla McLeod, on the call with you today. Stick around for Game 2 coming up in just a few hours here on the Cougar Sports Network. And as always, go Cougars!
Thank you so much for tuning in to today's Concordia University Chicago Cougars Athletics broadcast. We hope to see you on campus very soon. If you would like to learn more about what Concordia Chicago has to offer, go to cuchicago.edu.